Currently following OBs or nurses on TikTok, you might want to be a little bit more careful in who you're listening to. And I can also say the same for doulas and midwives. I mean, we all have our biases. The important thing you need to know is that no matter who you're following, and that includes myself, you need to be first tuning in with the one person who is going to be mattering the most in anything, any decision you make. Yourself. In fact, the empowered birth method is not a one-size-fits-all. I don't advocate for only doing natural birth, and I don't demonize the medical system when they're in their own lane. Let me be clear about that. What's not in their own lane? Criticizing doulas and midwives and the entire natural birth community for choosing not to do tests and interventions that the medical system deems important. Stay in your own lane. Are tests and interventions sometimes warranted? Yes. Do women still have the right to make their own decisions and choose not to do those tests? Also, yes. Recently, I saw a OB stitch video. They're showing up a lot for some reason. And the OB is basically saying, no, these tests are important. If you don't do these tests, this is bad, bad and wrong. You're bad and wrong if you're choosing not to do those tests. And they're blaming the birth influencers for the client declining the test. Let me just be really clear. If you are taking advice from somebody else, not tuning into yourself and saying, well, somebody told me to do it this way, so that's why I'm doing it. Well, yeah, that's probably not right for you. So even when I am out there doing my soapboxing, I want to make this perfectly clear. I do not tell my clients what to do. Instead, I tell them, you already know what you want to do. You already know what's important to you. Do you feel that this test is necessary? Don't look at the research and evidence. Do you want it? Do you feel that it's necessary? And remember, you can always change your mind. If at some point you come across some other piece of information that has you start to question whether you want to do something, and that goes the other way too, you might be going the medical route and suddenly you get information that says, well, wait a minute, I don't actually want to do that. And maybe that's not what's right for me. Seriously, trust your gut. Trust your intuition. It's there for a reason. Now, I'm going to also add, you need to get out of fear-based decision-making to do that. If you're making decisions based on information that was given to you and it's coming from a place of fear or coercion, or what the medical system likes to do, and certain people that they say that if you don't do this, your baby could have problems, or you could have problems, or it's just going to be a catastrophe. They don't know that. Yeah, they might see a lot of things, but they also can't see the water they swim in. And the person who says that your body is completely built to birth and there's absolutely no chance of anything happening, no. Because even when I'm working with my clients and we are planning a completely unassisted birth, and we are choosing not to go to the medical system because that is what my client wants, I'm still not holding their hand and saying, hey, we're going this direction. I'm following their lead, and I'm providing the information that they want, and I'm completely transparent with my biases. And one of my clients last year, she chose to go into the hospital because she genuinely felt that it was time. She was concerned. Her waters had been released for several days, and she's like, you know what? I want to go in now. I'm like, you know what? That was totally fine. You are following your intuition. And then at another point, she's like, I'd really like to get labor started. And I know what you said about castor oil, but I feel like this will help me get at least the VBAC that I wanted. And I said, hey, you are making a decision that is informed. You're making a decision based on what is right for you. Nobody gets to judge that. So in all transparency, I did not do a single blood test with my second pregnancy. Now, am I telling you not to go and get blood tests in your pregnancy? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just pointing out to you that you can choose not to do that and have it be okay. You can also choose not to do that, change your mind later, and do it, as my friend Jenny did. And she's like, you know what? I think I might actually go ahead and do this test. Even though it's probably not going to tell me anything, I'd kind of like to know for my own peace of mind. I'm like, okay. She found out she had gestational diabetes. Did that stop her from having an unassisted VBAC in the hospital? No, it did not. Because even though she chose to do that test, she also was very conscious of why she was doing it and what her path was going to be if it turned out that she did have gestational diabetes, and she was proactive with it. So whether you choose to do a test or whether you choose to take in an intervention is completely up to you. The empowered birth method is all about aiming for true natural birth and pulling back only as much as you feel you need. So these OBs and nurses that are getting on their high horse and saying things about how you should never decline a test and it's so dangerous, and all these moms who are having home births, oh horrors. Look at the bias here. Can you really trust someone who refuses to see the other side? Can you really trust someone who has absolutes in how they give their advice? That there's no gray area. That you're just bad and wrong if you even dare to go outside the box because something might possibly maybe happen. It's really important to be able to trust the people that you're following, and it's really important that you trust yourself and your own judgment. As I said, my job is to make sure that you are informed of all of your rights, all of your options, and to recognize medical gaslighting when you see it, so that you don't fall into the fear traps. You don't fall into the idea that you have to do a test just because a medical professional is ranting and railing on social media about it. And you also don't just assume that those birth workers out there who say you don't ever have to do a test. I mean, if you want to, they're right about the you don't have to. But if you want to, you deserve to have the information to make that informed decision without the medical system pushing their agenda on you. And if you want to know more about how to do that, I'm building a lot of things on my website right now. I have a whole bunch of free resource guides. I'm going to be sending out my newsletter later today. And if you're on that email list, then that newsletter is full of tips and information that isn't widely taught because it comes from my own perspective of what I've learned in business, in marketing, in collaborating, conflict resolution, in how the birth industry works, seeing it from both sides, having sat in on support groups for doulas and midwives and nurses and seeing what they've been dealing with, from recognizing by helping my clients what they've been dealing with. And I put it all out there. And the reason I put it all out there and I don't put it behind a paywall is because, honestly, I'm just tired of this. I'm seriously tired of this. So there's 3 paths to working with me. One is do it yourself. Take all of my videos. Make sure you follow all of my channels because I scatter my magic everywhere. It's not just on one platform. Make sure you're also subscribed to the newsletter because I give even more tips inside there. So that's the free path. Then there's the option that you can go and get my courses and books. And I put them at an affordable rate because I remember what it was like when I couldn't even afford to buy a book. So you can go and get my book off of Amazon or go watch it on YouTube. You can go and get my courses. Some of them are even just like $97. So they're really cheap and they're jam-packed with information. And then there's the less accessible path, but it's the fastest route to transformation. It's what all my clients have had, is working with me directly. And currently right now, I might be opening up some spots, but I'm not 100% sure yet when that will be. Either way, Empowered Birth is here for you, wherever you're at in the journey. And, if you happen to be on those OB platforms with their TikTok, don't be afraid to point out their biases. Okay? Just there's a nice way and then there's a mean way of doing it. You don't want to attack them, but you do want to point out that, hey, maybe there might be a little bit more to this than what they're saying, because there always is. Don't take anybody at blind faith. Just don't. Always question everything, including what I tell you. If you have a different perspective, I'm open to hearing it. Just don't attack me. And everything will be cool. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.